Day 1 Sea of Thieves pirates will often complain about just how easy Sea of Thieves has become. With changes to the harpoon, storage crate, the sovereigns, everything is done so much faster and more efficient nowadays. However, there's one pirate who started sailing before harpoons were even invented. In fact, when he first started sailing, the pirates were all dinosaurs. This is Old Man Harold. He used to walk up Galleon's grave both ways to get to pirate school. He pulled his bootstraps so much they fell off. He's possibly the oldest pirate on the Sea of Thieves. Today, Old Man Harold was just wrapping up an underwater shrine before heading to an outpost to sell his loot. He loaded up his mermaid statue with his earned loot, including a powder keg, and headed atop the waves to collect it all. Old Man Harold begrudgingly used the harpoon, though he kept muttering how much he missed the old way of having to take things off of the harpoon one at a time. Then he spent a few minutes moving each piece of loot from the front of his ship to the back by the voyage table. It's how him and his old crew have always done things. The journey to Sanctuary Outpost was quiet, but Old Man Harold took it very seriously, clutching the sniper in his hands to ward off any danger. He also pushed me around a little bit to make more of a man out of me. Old Man Harold was having what he felt was a lot of fun. This is his Sea of Thieves, and he's not to be trifled with. Old Man Harold's lack of shoes also came quite apparent during this portion of the voyage. He never used to wear shoes, and sure, one of his feet looked pretty rough as a result of all the damage that's happened to them, but why get shoes now when he's never worn them before? As he approached Sanctuary, he pulled his unnamed sloop, at first to the dock with the Merchant Alliance representative, but then he remembered his good friends, the Sovereigns. Though Old Man Harold felt Sea of Thieves had become far too easy over time, the addition of the Sovereigns was something he loved, not because of their ease of use, but because of how simply classy they were. True upstanding folk, he would always call them. Old Man Harold went over to sell his first chest to the Sovereigns, but they didn't accept it. Old Man Harold seemingly forgot he was not sailing on a captain's ship today. Additionally, he was not wearing shoes, and the Sovereigns have a pretty strict no shoes, no service policy. All mistakes of his own. Though he blamed the Sovereigns, Old Man Harold was resigned to selling all of this loot the old-fashioned way, and stormed off. But before he began to actually sell, he also went to the shipwrights to complain, and then the merchants, and then the gold hoarder. After most of the folks occupying the outpost had heard of just how awful the Sovereigns were to him, he finally began to sell, and boy was this a process. Though he moved as quickly as he could, Old Man Harold, stubborn in his ways, refused to move his ship any closer to the various representatives he'd be selling to, so he had to bring each item individually across the entire outpost. Just like the good old days, Harold screamed as he took 3 minutes to sell a single skull. He could have made this process so much easier. However, he sold the only carrying chest he had the second that it was emptied. The powder keg he had questionably brought with him, he also took off his ship, but left on the dock directly next to his boat, perhaps as a veiled threat to the Sovereigns. He continued from night into day, into night, into day, selling each item one at a time, about 20 loot items in total. In the heat of the day, the hot sand on the outpost burned his feet. In the night, the chill outpost breeze ran right into his nose. About 2/3 of his way through selling, he took a break to climb up into the crow's nest and observe his surroundings. It seemed that this was all that was happening at first, but then, out of nowhere,
Doesn't know what you're doing.
he claimed to know what I was doing. This was after being with him for about 45 minutes and having every opportunity to take his loot or sink his ship with the keg placed directly next to it. In reality, I was but a humble documentarian, but perhaps he thought I was in with the Sovereigns, or it was perhaps my fault that he was unable to sell with them. Maybe he just truly believed all pirates were evil. I sailed back over and watched as he sold what was left. When that was all wrapped up, he felt especially proud of himself. Another perfect day on the seas. Immediately after this, he decided to try and shoot me, never missing a shot. And then swam over to my ship with the intent to sabotage it. I scuttled before he could get his hands on it. I had clearly upset Old Man Harold with just my presence. Because I was new, I was different. And new and different can be scary sometimes, or may seem like it discards the old, when in fact, all things new build upon the sacrifices and an appreciation for what came before. Old Man Harold taught me that sure, Sea of Thieves may be easier now, but it was never about the difficulty. It's about how you overcome. With Old Man Harold's unnamed sloop now beginning to scuttle, indicating Old Man Harold had moved on, I had one last thing to do. And for some reason the keg just disappeared instead of exploding upon being shot. Weird. Back in my day, kegs used to explode.